Ever imagined waking up one day to find your reality now consists of unimaginable luxury, where every wish of yours is instantly fulfilled? Welcome to the universe where this isn't a dream, it's the daily life of Russian oligarchs. But how did these figures reach such stratospheric levels of wealth? And what truly lies behind the curtains of their opulent mansions? Today, we'll dive deep into this fascinating world, exploring not just the sparkle and glamour but also the secrets and controversies. Stay with us, as we reveal what it really means to live luxury without limits. Chapter 1. What is an oligarch? Ever caught yourself daydreaming about a life of sheer luxury? A life where choosing between a yacht or a private jet for your next outing is your daily dilemma? Ah, my friends, prepare to step into a world where this is just the tip of the iceberg. Imagine, while most of us are thrilled to snag a Black Friday deal, these guys are there, deciding whether to buy a helicopter or an island for the weekend. Yes, you heard that right, an island. Now, you might be wondering, who are these guys, anyway? Russian oligarchs, my dear viewers, are people so incredibly wealthy that the concept of expensive practically doesn't exist for them. And no, they didn't win the lottery. They are the cunning masters of the post-Soviet universe, who knew how to play the game of power and wealth like no one else. But what makes an oligarch? Is it just a bank account with more zeros than we can count, or is there more? Well, besides swimming in money like Scrooge McDuck, they have their own rules, a lifestyle that makes the luxury we know look like child's play. But how did they get there, you might be wondering? Get ready for a story that mixes cunning, opportunity, and of course, a bit of drama. After all, what would luxury be without a good plot behind it, right? And I know, you're already wondering, do they really live that lifestyle, or is it all just for show? Let's unravel together the secrets behind these massive fortunes and understand not just how they live, but why. So, are you ready to embark on this journey with us? Grab your popcorn, settle into your chair, because we're taking you on an unforgettable ride through the world of Russian oligarchs. Who knows, maybe you'll find some ideas for spending your next, million. Stay tuned, because in the next chapter, we'll dive into the origins of this wealth and find out exactly where all this money comes from. It's going to be quite the trip. Chapter 2, Sources of Wealth. Continuing our adventure through the world of Russian oligarchs, let's unravel one of the biggest mysteries. Where does all this money come from? If you thought of buried treasures or secret maps, well, it's not quite that, but the story is almost as thrilling. The truth is, after the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia was more of a mess than a teenager's bedroom. It was in this chaos, my friends, that the future oligarchs saw a gold mine. They plunged into industries that, until then, were controlled by the state. We're talking oil, gas, metals, and anything else you can imagine that holds value. And when I say plunged, it's because they really dove in headfirst, with the determination of an Olympic athlete. Now, imagine you're there, in the midst of a gigantic transition, from a completely controlled economy to a free market. Of course, there was going to be confusion, and our protagonists knew exactly how to ride this giant wave. But what's fascinating about this whole story isn't just the fact that they accumulated immense wealth. It's the cunning, the vision for the future, and let's admit, a healthy dose of courage, or madness, depending on your viewpoint. Each of these oligarchs has a unique story of how they reached the top. Some started from the bottom, really from scratch, while others might have had a little push here and there. But one thing they all have in common, the ability to see opportunities where no one else did. So, next time you hear about Russian oligarchs and their stratospheric fortunes, remember that behind every luxurious yacht, there's a story of opportunism, risk, and a mad race for wealth in one of the most turbulent times in modern history. Did you enjoy learning a bit more about the epic origins of the oligarch's fortune? Here's a tip. In the world of business, sometimes, chaos brings the biggest opportunities. Maybe it's time to find yours? Chapter 3, Luxury Lifestyle. Now that we've got a handle on where the mountain of money comes from for Russian oligarchs, how about we take a peek at how they actually spend all that cash? Brace yourself, because the level of extravagance here is out of this world. Just imagine, while we're happy with a weekend trip to the beach, these guys are setting sail on yachts that resemble small floating resorts. And we're not talking about any yacht, but those with helipads, personal submarines, and, of course, a service team ready to serve caviar for breakfast. And the houses? Well, calling them houses seems almost like a joke. Mansions that resemble palaces, spread across the most exclusive corners of the planet. Some are so large you'd need a map just to not get lost in the corridors. And of course, each one decorated with a taste that blends classic art with modernity in a way you have to see to believe. But it doesn't stop there. Cars? My friends, Russian oligarchs collect cars like some collect stamps. Except, in their case, they're Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royces, and any other brand that's synonymous with if you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. And when it comes to fun, they don't skimp either. Whether it's throwing parties that would go down in history or simply deciding to take a jaunt into space, yes, space itself, on a Saturday afternoon, nothing is too much. So, what do we learn from all this? Besides a bit of envy, let's admit it, all these extravagances show the almost unlimited power that money can bring. But they also make us question, in the end, does all this ostentation bring happiness? Well, that's something only they can answer. But as we ponder that, how about dreaming a bit about what we would do if we had such a fortune? Who knows, maybe we'll find some ideas for our own wish list, right? Chapter 4, Exclusive Events and Hobbies. It's time to talk about the other side of the coin in the lives of Russian oligarchs, a topic that doesn't always shine as brightly as the jewels around their necks, the controversies and criticisms. While it's easy to get lost in the gleam of gold and the softness of velvet, we can't forget that every story has its highs and lows. And the oligarchs? Well, theirs have more sharp turns than the most radical roller coaster you can imagine. First, there's the issue of inequality. While a minimal portion of the population swims in money, the majority only see this wealth from afar, through the TV or phone screen. This raises a big question about social justice and income distribution. After all, is it fair that so few have so much, while many barely have enough to live? And it doesn't stop there. The way this fortune was accumulated is also subject to a lot of speculation and criticism. In a country where power and money dance so closely together, it's hard to separate what's legitimate from what was gained on the fringes of the rules. Not to mention accusations of corruption, money laundering, and other financial crimes that often circle these circles. But, of course, there are always two sides to the story. Some defend the oligarchs, arguing that they are pioneers who knew how to seize opportunities in difficult times, bringing innovation and jobs to many. Moreover, we can't ignore philanthropy and investments in culture and art, although some say this is just a way to clean up their image. So, what to think of all this? Are Russian oligarchs villains of inequality or heroes of capitalism? The truth, as in many stories, is probably somewhere in the middle. In this chapter, we don't offer answers, but reflections. After all, understanding the complexity of these lives is also a way to understand a little more about the world we live in and, who knows, about ourselves. Chapter 5, The Future of Oligarchs. And now, to close our saga on Russian oligarchs, let's venture into a journey to the future. Yes, grab your crystal ball, because we're going to speculate about what might be waiting for these magnates in a world that's constantly changing. Globe with Meridian's crystal ball. With the global political and economic landscape in constant turmoil, the future of the oligarchs is as uncertain as London's weather. Will they continue to sail on seas of champagne, or will they face storms that could make their yachts rock? One of the big questions is about changes in international laws and regulations. With the world becoming more connected and vigilant, pressure on financial transparency and the fight against corruption has never been so intense. This could mean that the days of amassing wealth in the shadows might be numbered. Furthermore, technology advances in leaps and bounds, bringing both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, new markets and digital frontiers open up, but on the other, the same technology that builds empires can also tear them down, whether through new forms of scrutiny or the rapid change in consumers' habits and desires. And what about the environmental and social impact of their actions? With the world becoming more aware of sustainability and equality issues, oligarchs may be forced to reconsider their practices, at the risk of becoming the villains of the modern era. But, as good chess players that they are, it's expected that oligarchs are always 2 steps ahead, adapting and evolving. Perhaps we'll see more investments in green technologies, or even a movement towards more genuine philanthropy. In the end, the future of Russian oligarchs is a mystery, but one thing is certain, it will be fascinating to observe. Who knows, maybe in the future, their story will teach us valuable lessons about adaptation, resilience, and the true nature of success. As we cross the finish line of this journey through the extravagant lifestyle of Russian oligarchs, one question remains: does true luxury lie in the abundance of goods or in the richness of lived experiences? We've discovered worlds where money seems infinite, but also glimpse the shadows that these lives of splendor may conceal. Now, we want to hear from you. What defines luxury for you? And to what extent can wealth truly bring happiness? Share your thoughts in the comments, join our community by subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell for more stories that challenge our perception of the world. Until our next discovery!